Today, in the episode, we talked to J.Cam about his favourite filming equipment and all things filmmaking. What's up guys, Elliot here, and welcome to the first ever episode of the Venom Films podcast. And today I'm joined by J.Cam to talk about equipment, where you get equipment, what equipment you should use, and all that other kind of stuff that you probably want to know when you're going to start making a YouTube channel. So I think the first question is, what equipment do you use?
Hi, by the way. I use a Canon
Hi.
EOS 700D. It's a great camera. It'll run you back a lot of money, but I really think it's worth it because you get 1080p video, which is probably one of my favorite resolutions because it doesn't take up too much storage, but it does get you good quality. The built-in mic isn't great, but you can get some really good cheap mics. And the tripod I used was a Velbon EF41 or something, but it broke, but it was good for the time being. So that's mainly my camera setup.
Yeah. So yeah, where do you get your stuff from? Is it like Amazon, or do you go to the actual website to buy it?
Well, the tripod I got for my birthday. There's this shop I like called Jessup's, which is basically a photography shop, but you'll find some good filmmaking stuff there. And yeah, like you said, just Amazon and the usual websites.
Yeah, I think that's one of the great things about Amazon is you can actually just go through the website and look for all different stuff. And you can find, I don't know, say you wanted like a shoulder rig or Steadicam, you can just search it in and it'll come up with tons of results, tons of different kind of price ranges.
Yeah.
So I think the next question is probably, what is your best and worst pieces of kit that you use? Like, what do you use the most, and what you wasted bits of money on?
That's a really good question, and it's kind of hard to answer. I guess one of my good investments is a Rode VideoMic Go. It's really good quality for the price. It's great. It comes with a shock mount, but apparently it's not. It's not invincible because my brother came into my bedroom with a football and threw it at the tripod while the microphone was on it, and it kind of just broke off from a shock mount. But if that doesn't happen, you'll have a very good microphone.
Yeah.
Other good investments. I didn't buy the tripod, but it was good. A green screen. It's just a generic portable green screen. Pretty sure you can find.
Yeah, I find the green screen helpful because they're very versatile, so you can use it for like anything really. You can add like a cool background for films, anything you want really for green screen.
Yeah, I use the green screen a lot because if you're a visual effects artist, it's really good because if you're shooting with characters, it's gonna come in really handy. So you don't have to spend like thousands of years rotoscoping for like 1 second.
Yeah, I have a green screen, but what it is, it's built into a reflector. I think it's a newer green screen. It came with it's a reflector. It's a 7-in-1 reflector, which is really good. It has a kind of like a diffuser. It has gold and silver kind of reflectors, and it also has a green screen and a blue screen. But one of the criticisms I have with that is that the green and the blue screens, they're not exactly flat, and it's not very taut. So you get like all this kind of wrinkly, crinkly effect, which I don't really like. But if you play around with it quite a bit in HitFilm, then I think you can sort of work that out. Because yeah, I do really love green screens, and like the one that I have, I'll leave a link to these all in the description. The one I use is a newer one, which is a 7-in-1 reflector. I also use a light, which is a newer CN160 video light, which I think is also a really good investment, as lighting. When you start off filmmaking, I don't know, but I didn't really think about lighting to start off with, because it's not really at the forefront. You just want to get out and film. But I think lighting is really important.
Yeah, like I was kind of shocked when I found out, like, wow, lighting is a big deal. Like I thought it's just composition, audio and stuff, but I never, like, lighting is such a subtle effect, but it's so important.
Yeah, it's very noticeable. If you do lighting badly, it is very noticeable.
Yeah.
If you're doing it badly.
Like, when you know you've done it good, it's when the audience doesn't notice it's good or bad.
Yeah. It's like one of those things as well, like some visual effect. There was this video on YouTube, and basically what happened, they were saying visual effects you know you've done a good visual effect when the audience thinks it's real and they don't notice it.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the things with lighting as well. Lighting, you can tell when you've got bad lighting, but you don't want them to notice if you've got good lighting. You just want it to look natural. I think that's one of the things that I think like Grips, who are like the people who do the lighting, I think they have such a they should be noticed more for the job they do, because it is really hard to get the right lighting, and I struggle with it, but it takes time, but after a while you kind of get a feel like pointing the light there and it goes that way.
Yeah, like natural light is really good. Maybe not so much in the winter times, but
yeah, if you're gonna do anything, film outside. Filming outside is the best, because the light is when it's sunny or cloudy. That's the best time to be filming, because the lighting is just amazing, and it's actually quite controllable. If you have a reflector as well, you can block the light off. I think that's one of the best things to tips. Film outside.
Yeah, I think I definitely agree.
And also, what software do you use to edit your videos and the audio and all the other for photos as well?
For photos, I would use a software that's an image manipulation software, and it's called GIMP.
Is that a free one?
It's free, yeah. I haven't paid a pound coin for any of my software. It's all free. Visual, audio, and even some thumbnails I do are done in HitFilm Express. I just think it's great, and what blew me away is that it was free. I was watching all these videos with it when I was first getting into it. I was like, wow, this is going to be thousands of pounds. But it's free, so that's cool.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things with HitFilm Express. Most people just think it's a video editing software. You can actually, if you go into the composite kind of editing workspace, you can actually edit photos in it, which I think is really cool as well.
Yeah. Because it's not that hard. Like, if you're familiar with the software, that's great, because you can just do all your photo editing in that, and then you can just export as PNG if it's just one frame.
Yeah, I think it's a very transferable skill. If you know how to edit photos, you're also pretty good at editing videos, and vice versa.
Yeah, I've had some experience with Photoshop, and as soon as
I use Photoshop to edit my photos and do my thumbnails, but I probably really don't need to use Photoshop. I just use it because I have it and I feel like I should use it.
Yeah, if you have Photoshop, I think you should stick with it, because for photos it was made for them, and HitFilm Express was made more for the video side. But HitFilm Express can handle it fine, but if you have Photoshop, I'd recommend using it.
Yeah, I think Digital Blast actually edits all his thumbnails in HitFilm Express. When you what settings do you use on your camera? Do you use the automatic setting, or do you use a manual setting?
For my first month, I think I was in my automatic settings, non-stop. But when I figured out the wonder of lighting, I thought these automatic settings aren't really going to support the lighting. So I moved into manual for the first time. I played around with it, and I've stuck with it ever since, because I got pretty used to it, and I think it's the right way to go. But for my settings, I keep it at a typical 24 frames a second, and I know there's a rule that you should never change your ISO, but really I just change it to whatever makes your shot look best.
Yeah, I mean that's it really. It doesn't really matter what settings you're on, if it's in aperture priority, manual, whatever. It's just I think what the best shot is for you, and if you can get the best effect, I think that's it.
Yeah.
That's one of the struggles with filming in the dark, actually, isn't it? It's the ISO, because if you increase the ISO, the grain goes up, but you can also see more in the dark. So I think that's one of the problems. It comes into lighting as well. Filming in the dark is one of the toughest things you can do in filmmaking. And I think most people actually try and stray away from filming in the dark, as it's hard. And yeah, you can do it actually in post. I think you did that Portal video. Was it in post? You changed that to the dark.
One shot in it. It was really well. It wasn't late, but for some reason it was just really dark because of the cold weather, and I changed my ISO to all the way up for a one-off. You should never really do that, but it was so dark I didn't have to edit that in post, so that was one of my less good shots. So, day for night effect. There's a great tutorial by Digital Blast for that.
When you're doing your tutorial, that kind of videos, so do you like edit it, so like change the color correction and stuff, or do you just leave that in what it looks like in camera?
A lot of the time, I would just leave the color correction, because the natural lighting coming through my giant window is enough to light it. But for my color correction tutorial, I think I color graded it because I wanted to give the impression that I actually knew what I was doing.
Yeah.
But that was probably the only time.
Yeah, I sometimes, nowadays, I normally kind of, when I'm doing a tutorial, normally I don't color correct because it saves time, and if you have the settings right in camera, for like a tutorial, it doesn't really need to be that cinematic, it just needs to be like quite vibrant and just like looks good and nice. However, when I'm doing films, I normally like to do the teal and orange, which I find actually quite hard to do in hit film, but I think Digital Blast is quite a good, he's got quite a nice colour grade, which I quite like, and I quite copy for my kind of short films and more cinematic stuff. But for tutorials, I don't change it at all, other than like maybe just add a bit more saturation if it looks really bad.
Yeah, like I think the saturation effect really comes in handy, because like a lot of the color grading effects, when you push it too high, it just looks like digital garbage. But like with the saturation, I think you can go pretty high and still get a good looking shot.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things you want to do with a tutorial. For like the actual filming bit, you want it to look kind of natural and realistic rather than really edited, otherwise I don't think it works as well.
Yeah. I think you need the lighting in your tutorials to look subtle, which I think you've really nailed, because most of your tutorials have the same kind of lighting setting going on. And
yeah, well, for shots like that, what I just use is basically, I have an LED light, which is a newer one. It's about £30, I think. I think it's not too bad for the light. And that's just basically on top of my camera. And that's just kind of like a one to light up my face. Because I actually have moved around where I film. I used to film against this green wall in my bedroom, and now I just film against this other wall. And I think this one's better because my green wall, the background kind of was quite dark, but now I've moved this kind of a lighter grey wall. I think that looks much better, and I think that's also with just like lighting and like all that kind of stuff, how it absorbs the light and balances it off. I think I'm really happy with how it looks now, and once you've done it a few times, you just have to, once you've done it a few times, I think that's when you do it, because then you get a feel of what you want it to look like and how to do that.
Yeah, because I think a good way to reassure yourself you're doing something well is to go back and look at some of your older videos and see if they stand up to what you're doing now, and if they're like not as good, you know you're heading in the right direction.
Yeah, well, actually, one of my old videos I did, I think it was about a year or two ago, I just put some LED lights behind my bed, so I had these LED lights, and I actually, in the actual video that's on YouTube, you can actually go and watch this, I did a quick bit, was like, I'm just going to show you the setup of how I've got this cool lighting and stuff, and that was actually just more to remind me of what to do in the future, so I could go back and see what to do.
So, yeah, okay. Like, going back to lighting, I think it's really important, because it's really subtle, and you may think it's not worth it if the audience aren't supposed to notice it, but trust me, when it's bad, they notice it.
So what lights do you use? Do you just use a natural light, or do you have a light you bought or something? Most
of the time it's all natural light, but sometimes I just use this generic work light. Another company it's made by, but it didn't come in a box, and I'm not sure what model it is. It's a DL light. They're all pretty much the same by them, so...
Yeah, I think that's one of the things I should say. You can actually use any light. It doesn't have to be like a special one you bought for me. You can just literally use a lamp or any other kind of light.
Yeah.
Any light does work. It's just some light, it depends what like bulb you got in it, because some are quite orange. And for tutorials and like the kind of video I do, I try and make it a bit more like white and not as orange, but I think for some stuff it looks better orange. You're gonna like it nice and warm, which is orange, but for tutorials and like looking nice and clean and just nice, I would probably use the more colder light.
Like, I think orange, too much orange can look like the sun is literally right where you're filming.
It it makes you it doesn't. It hurts. It doesn't hurt your eyes, but it makes everything else look a bit darker, and it looks a bit.
Yeah.
It doesn't look as good as like nice, bright, clean light.
Mhm.
I also have bought this I also have this shoulder rig that I have never used once, which is probably one of like the worst filmmaking investments I have bought. It was this newer shoulder rig. Now I've used it a few times, but the thing is, a shoulder rig is you don't look like a bit of an idiot holding it and walking around with it. So I think that's one of the things you need to bear in mind, what you're using your equipment for. Because I actually saw this in a reviewing this shoulder rig in a film right video, and I thought it looked really cool. But I've never used it since. I think it's just because the occasion has never arisen for me to be walking around holding a shoulder rig. But I think if I was like a documentary filmmaker, I think that'd be very good.
Yeah.
But as I'm not, I don't really use that, and it was about 30 quid as well, but I bought it quite a few years ago now, and I've literally not used it once.
Right. Yeah, like that goes back to investments and stuff, because if you buy something like that you think you're going to use only once, you should really think that there's an alternative way. But if you buy something mainly for the purpose of just looking cool, I don't think you should invest in it.
Yeah, I think I actually just bought that to look kind of more professional, because I felt you kind of feel professional when you've got the gear, but it's if you use it or not. And you feel more professional at home when you got it. But when you're walking out in public with it, it kind of can be a bit embarrassing when you're walking around with a shoulder rig.
Yeah. Like, especially for young filmmakers, I think it just makes us try to look more serious.
Okay, I think that's done it for today's podcast. I hope you enjoyed it. Make sure you go and check out J.Cam. I'll leave a link to his YouTube channel in the description.
Thank you.
And make sure you tune in next week for the next part of the podcast. And until next time, bye.
See you guys.